My name is Denise Timmerman, actually, and we are trying to put on town halls. They're an Allen Township Neighbors kind of corporation, LLC, I don't know, group is trying to inform everyone on what's going on in Allen Township. And it is something that we want to have a say in as zoning proceeds. And we're trying to get every piece of credible information out to you as possible. And we took the time to ask one of the zoning committee members questions on what was being developed and what are the cliff notes. Because I don't know about you, but reading that book is mind-numbing a little bit. And the legal jargon in it is very thick. And it has to be for some reason. But it is something that we want to take down and make cliff notes so that we all understand it. We understand what we're saying yes to or no to, whatever you choose to decide. But in this process, we're hoping to give you an idea of what zoning would look like should it pass. So we'll kind of go through some of the videos and give you some time to, let's just sit down round table and discuss this. Is this what you guys want? Is this not what you guys want? And we can always go back to the zoning commission. There are people that are in this room that attend every one of those meetings. And as you guys bring up questions, those questions are presented at the meetings directly. So we're trying to make everything as transparent as possible and give you guys as much voice as possible. So, because I'm a loud voice, but I need more if you guys want to have a voice in this. So, anyhow, I don't know what is on the second video.
Yep.
Do you want to talk towards this?
Yeah, sure. So this is the current zoning map of what is currently zoned in Hancock County. As you can see, we are the only county that's not zoned that is next to Findlay. And so what this means is a lot of the expansion projects that could potentially develop from Findlay but doesn't necessarily fit within their zoning code, they can come to us. And we don't want that kind of uncontrolled growth to be handling a lot of Findlay's extra projects, such as the Black Swamp Combinator. So that map just kind of represents that.
And historically, the things that are coming through that are signing on to set up shop on 99, lots of them are getting annexed into Findlay. So we just kind of lose the tax revenue from that. So we're just kind of taking and giving land away to Findlay as well as tax dollars away to Findlay. So if we want to continue to do that, by all means. But at the same time, we need to start to think about how to develop our community and keep it our community, because if not, we're going to be Findlay very shortly. So anyhow.
Absolutely.
But this next slide.
If you want to go ahead and.
I'll introduce the Zoning Commission, because I asked them all to write a little bio about themselves, because you always want to know who is making the dang decisions for you, because if they're a knucklehead, I don't want them in there. But I can say for a matter of fact that these people are very kind, nice, and they have the best interest at heart for Allen Township as we want to develop. So they are open ears. I've been to several meetings where if you ask a question, they are quick to stop what they're doing, understand what you're trying to say, and envelop your questioning into the decision-making that has to happen. So you can see that handsome fella in the left-hand corner is my husband. So I will own him. He is very meticulous, very methodical. Some would say OCD. But he is very methodical in how he's approaching the zoning commission. So he is an engineer by trade, and we just got done building our house. So we literally general contracted it, and I cut rebar and put it in the walls. So so we're hardworking people. We put together our own house. We know the value of your homes, and we know the value of your property because we did it. So anyhow, up in the upper left-hand or right-hand corner to you guys would be Dave Evans. He has been here for many years, and him and his wife both own and operate a business here. So they're business owners as well as landowners here in the community. So there is Deb Stacy, and Deb Stacy is a generational farmer. Multiple family members are involved in their farm, and they've been here about 60 years. Did someone whistle? Was that a parakeet in the room? Okay, that's weird. Okay. And let's see here, Clara Pargin. I think she's one of 10 kids. I don't know. She's one of a lot of kids, and I know that. I don't know exactly how many. 11? 12. Oh, my gosh. That poor mama. Anyhow, the Clara Pargin, very sweet lady, really loves to ride her horses. She met her husband, I think, at the state park, actually. So trying to give you a little bit of background on each one of these people. They are volunteers. So just keep that in mind as you're seeing who these people are. The other one is Darren Rios. He is a farmer here as well, actually graduated from Van Buren, and he said he graduated in 84. I would have not pegged that. So he looks younger than his age. Anyhow, little bio on each person so that you know who is sitting on that board trying to help develop for you guys. So these are upcoming meetings that there are, and basically, it's slated to what topics are going to be covered when. And I do not have my glasses on, so if you got glasses and can read that.
I can't read it that well either. The cross is kind of blocking a little bit.
No, you're okay. April 29th is already passed. We already did that meeting. And they actually were able to go a little bit ahead of schedule, I guess. This May 2nd meeting, tomorrow's meeting, is actually a really big one. So the more voices that are there in attendance to be heard on what you want, the better. So this is the one that's going to cover ponds and frontage and all the little extras, including wind and solar. So making sure that whatever you guys are concerned with in the community, that's kind of the hot topic one. So tomorrow would be a good chance to do the zoning commission, and they meet tomorrow from 5 to 7 at the township building. So May 6th, there is no meeting on that day. I don't know what was going on, but there's no meeting that day. And the next slide will tell you May 9th has all of these extra things. So it talks a little bit about inspections. There will be some permit pulling, hopefully with minimal fees, and certificate of occupancy. So like there'll be a couple of things, but it's not, I don't think that they're questioning, like, you know how you have the guy come in and check your plumbing? It's like so rigid, and you have to make sure before you pour the concrete in the basement. It's not those types of things. It's mainly making sure your footer is in the right spot, making sure that you're allowing for the frontage and the sidage and whatever before you're pouring concrete. So it's not like meticulous, like your kitchen should not go there. So, but May 9th is the one for that. So. May 13th, talking about the board membership. So the zoning board and the zoning appeals board has not been created or developed yet. So you have the zoning commission, but there will be a zoning board, and there will be an appeal process. Like if there's something, a variance that needs to happen or you're wanting, there will be a board to present to you with that. That has not been developed yet, and they're going to walk through how does that get developed, who goes on that kind of stuff. That will all be in conversation that night. I don't know if that will be picked. I don't know if trustees pick that. I'm not quite sure, but they're talking about it that night. Just talking about amendments and how it looks fine-wise and all that kind of stuff. So that's another good one to actually attend. May 16th is the goal date for actual review of the entire book in its entirety. Okay, so they're hoping to finish it by May 16th and then actually review it. May 20th, 23rd, and the 30th, there they're buffer meetings. So if things go over, we have a buffer, or they have a buffer to actually talk about something else. So if something comes up and you guys are like, oh my word, I really want a driveway that is 64 feet long and they only allow 60. So you have the opportunity to say that and be like, okay, well, they have buffer meetings to be able to discuss something like that. So, okay.
Okay, so here, this is kind of just a general map, and I think Denise is going to walk around and hand it out. So this is what the zoning map looks like so far. Obviously, they are still in development on this. They're still working on it, so things might change. But here you can kind of get an idea of what's being designated as agricultural versus industry versus residential, et cetera. Right now, there is no control as to where industry might spring up, and that includes right on top of residence, which is part of why we're going through the zoning process here tonight, or in total right now. But yep. Oh, and then that brings us to the videos. So for the next few segments, we're going to go ahead. We'll play some videos that the head of the zoning commission, John, he kind of made some videos kind of just summing up some of the most common questions to some of the things people might have as to what they've been doing and where we're at on the book.
Pause, 2 hot seconds. You guys got this map, and you're looking at probably where your house is. It's like, get your bifocals on. I'm trying to read this sucker. But you will see that there is housing everywhere. And we haven't gone forth in Allen Township in a manner that kind of delineates an industrial area, a residential area, an agricultural area. You can see that houses are dispersed everywhere. So it's going to be really challenging when it comes to the zoning commission, and this is one of the topics that they're getting ready to cover, and figure out, like, where do we want to put industry for growth? Where do we want to put residential for growth? Now, you have to understand that whatever is already in place is grandfathered in. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but that whatever your property is right now, that's what it will continue to be. Like, it's not going to say, you have a business right there, oh no, that's residential. That's not how this is gonna go. Everything gets grandfathered in at this point. With the map, there's a lot of residential, and you have to kind of take that into account as they're going to create the map. So making sure you kind of know where you live and know zoning and what zone you lie in is going to help tell what parameters their zoning commission is going to set around those types of living spaces. So as you watch the videos, kind of take into account, if you are out in the country and you are in a house, you're agricultural. Like, my house is agricultural. We live on like 2.5 acres. We're out in the country. So when you think about what zone am I in, and being able to refer back to what are the parameters that are in that zone. So it gives you a little bit more information. So kind of walk through that and know where you're at. He's going to explain zones as well, because okay. So anyhow, we'll go ahead and let you do the video. Oh, okay.
Oh, that was too far. Well, that's one video too far, I think.
Go back one more. Even more.
We need to go back. Yeah. I can have us.
Keep going back. Keep going back. There's one on what is zoning.
Right. There we are. Okay.
Hi, my name is John Timmerman, and I'm one of the members of the zoning board, and this is the first of several videos to help break down the proposed zoning resolution. While it might not be necessary to watch all of the videos, this is the first one kind of showing you what zoning is and it isn't, and I think this is a great place to start before watching other videos. You might not want to watch all the videos, and maybe you just want to watch specific ones to whatever district you'll be living in and understand the rules there. But this is the place to start to understand what's going on. The first thing you need to know is that the zoning resolution is not finalized at the time of this recording. We still have meetings every Monday and Thursday at 5 p.m. at the Allen Township Building. And they're open to the public, so everybody's welcome. And we typically try to have a spot at the end or sometimes in the middle where people can voice their concerns, ask questions, and whatnot. So everybody's welcome. Please show up. And when the resolution is done, there will be a public hearing where it's another option or opportunity for people to voice their opinions at that point in time. This video, along with the others, is not intended to cover every detail of the resolution, but rather hit the high points that will affect the highest percentage of people. While the board has been going through the resolution, our strategy has been to be lighter on residential and heavier on more commercial properties. From the zoning book, it says, zoning is for the purpose of promoting and protecting the public health, safety, and general welfare by securing the most appropriate use of land. That's the thing that zoning is. It is about land usage. It's not a building code. It's not an HOA. It doesn't tell you what color your house can be painted or anything crazy like that. It's for helping regulate where residential goes and where industrial goes, and promoting the welfare of the entire township. Again, this is not a building code. This is more where should you build houses rather than how should you build your house. With that, there will be permits that go along with this. That's part of how you can not necessarily control, but influence where things go. You need to be seeing where houses will be going and where industrial will be going, and keep safe distances to promote the safety and welfare of the entire township. Unfortunately, there will be fees that go along with permits. The strategy hopefully will be to keep those at a minimum as well. And there will be a couple of inspections. Basically, it's to inspect that if you're putting up a house or a building, it's where are you putting it? Does it fall within the zoning regulations? Making sure that you're not building it on the property line or on the neighbor's property for that matter. So as this resolution continues moving forward, we will be developing a map that kind of lays out in the township where should residential houses be, where should the industrial be located, what's for the good of the township. Right now, if you look at a land use map, we have houses everywhere. So unfortunately, wherever you put an industrial site, there's probably going to be at least a house in that area, because there's been no zoning before, so people could build wherever they wanted to build. The idea moving forward is to keep them separated for everybody's safety, and that's done by having the zoning. So the map will show the different districts. There are residential districts, there are business, and there are industrial. There's agricultural, and there is a expressway district, since we have a couple on and off ramps from I-75. So moving forward, there will be the different districts. It'll get divided up. Unfortunately, some houses will end up in industrial, but they'll be treated as if they're in agriculture. However it gets split up, whatever your current use is, it will stay that current use. If you have a house and it's being used as residential, it's still residential. And if it's in an industrial district, it'll be treated as if it's in an agricultural district. You'll follow the same kind of rules, and it won't really affect anything. And who knows, maybe no industry will ever be built in that district, and nothing really ever changes for you. So hopefully it's a smooth transition to that, and Yeah, things will work out. It's not going to really change your day-to-day use. It's for promoting how the township will be used moving forward.
Okay, so I think now we're going to open the floor to just anyone who has questions about the general purposes of zoning. And then the next couple videos that we're going to be going into, just so you have an idea of when to ask questions you might have. The next few will be covering the A1 district agricultural, didn't want to start it yet, the R1 residential, and then the multifamily residential apartments, and I think that was the last one. Yeah, that was. So that's what we'll be covering coming up here. But as for just kind of aim towards the purpose of zoning and what John just talked about, does anyone have any questions or concerns they'd like to bring up? Yes. Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't
sorry,
start
I
off with
thought
an
about-
introduction. Yeah, so I'm Chris Goodwin. I've lived here now for about 3 years in Allen Township. We built just slightly before Denise and John did, just right next door. So again, we are newer to the township, but we want to be invested in helping to protect the community. And when I say we, I'm speaking of my family, so. Yep.
And I moved here when I was in 3rd grade. So, been here for a while.
Yep.
I moved away for a little while and then came back, and we just built. So yeah, Mrs. Clark, 3rd grade.
Okay.
Any other questions? I feel like there's not a ton of questions. Either the zoning committee is doing an amazing job, or the people are like, Like, so,
Yep.
all right.
All right, we can go ahead and start the next video. I don't think yeah.
Hi, my name is John Timmerman. I'm one of the zoning board members, and this is another video to help break down the proposed zoning resolution. Please make sure to go back and see the first video just to help you better understand what zoning is. Again, this is not a final resolution at this point. We are still working on it, and we have our meetings Monday and Thursday nights at 5 p.m. at the Allen Township Building. It's open to the public, and we always try to have time for questions and comments at the end where you can voice your opinions. There will be a public review at the end of this in June at some point. And this, again, this video is intended to cover the higher points that affect the most people in the district. So for this video, we'll be covering the A1 agricultural district. This would include country living and farming, basically. So the permitted uses is farms and farming operations. There are other things, but for the majority of people, farms and farming operations are going to cover everything. The conditional uses would be a single-family residence. For a single-family residence, you're required 2 acres. That's required by the health department so that you have enough land for a septic field. And the other requirement is 200 feet of road frontage, just so you don't have a lot of real narrow, deep lots. That's pretty standard in other townships as well. So as far as splitting the land, many townships have very strict rules on how you can split land, and we've tried to open it up to not be so restrictive. If somebody wants to split land, you obviously still have to follow any health department or any county level rules, but basically we've set it up that if you have 2 acres of land and 200 feet of road frontage, we're not there to restrict you from putting a house on that. So we tried to keep it very simple rules. at the end of the day, the farmers either want to sell land or they don't want to sell land. So we're trying not to restrict it too much. The area in bulk, the maximum height of a house or building would be 30 feet, and for whatever reason they measure the height of a building to the average between the bottom of the roof line and the peak. So by the time you factor in the highest point was probably be 45 feet maybe, who knows. So it's again measured at the average of the height of the roof. For front yard setbacks, it is 40 feet from the right of way. For the side and rear yard setbacks, it's 20 feet, and the minimum floor space of a house would be 1,000 square feet. Under general provisions for the A1 agricultural district, for buildings, an outbuilding, a lot of people want to put outbuildings up. The rule is 25% of your rear yard, and the height follows the same as the area in the bulk, so your height would still be the 30 feet. Another thing people want to always know about are fences, and in the A1 agricultural district there are not restrictions on fences at this time. So again, we tried to keep the rules pretty light on residents and heavier on the industrial commercial properties. So this I think follows that train of thought, and it's pretty easy to get along with. Shouldn't really change much of how people use their land right now.
All right, so going to open the floor if anyone has any questions about agriculture, the A1 districts. And something else I'll kind of point out too here, when they were developing these restrictions, they actually took a look at some of our neighboring townships too, and the books that they have. And when developing, the person that that's helping to guide them, Cindy Land, she's the assistant prosecutor for Hancock County. And she's been able to kind of help guide based off of some of these other townships. But with that being said, as John kind of pointed out in this video, they've been looking to lift even though they're using those as guides, they've been using that to lift restrictions back. And we'll kind of see that theme as we go into some of the R1 and some of the others too. But the goal here is that there's more of a controlled growth on the industry. So, all right, we'll go ahead and go to the next.
Wait.
Oh, yep.
Let's say I'm on almost 9 acres, and my husband and I want to downsize, and we want a small house, less than 1,000 feet. I mean, can we apply for a variance and through a committee to build, like a mini house, because we're old and we don't want a big house?
You want a she shed?
No.
No. No, I'm teasing.
No, I mean, we're not planning this. I'm just saying, for instance.
No, for you've got to think. The zoning commission has a really hard job to think of everything that might be coming down the line. There will be a board that is created that you can apply for a variance. It's up to the board to whether that's granted or not. I know it sets a precedence every time you grant a variance, right? So every time you grant a variance, then they have to consider that down the pike as well. So it would be up to the board member. But I think that as you do it, you present what you want to do and how you want to do it. And I think that there's reasonability to think that they would consider it.
Okay, so all the things they're setting up, they could be tweaked with approval of.
With a variance, yes.
Absolutely.
So if something's you're oh, you feel like that's a hard stop, it's maybe not necessarily a hard stop if you are able to look at it in a variance form. So I know somebody that we know personally that lives in Allen Township has a home that is built on the back of their lot, and he wants to put up a building in the front. And I mean, I think that he doesn't even have room in the back to put and he didn't build the house. So he's like, well, what am I going to do? That would be a great case to apply for a variance. Like, you didn't make the situation, but you want to improve your land, and this is how I'm going to do it. Could this be done? And that's where the board would come in, and you can apply for that variance.
And even outside of variances, as Denise had said, the current zoning commission board, they can't think of every case right now, right? And so there's actually code in the Ohio Revised Code to be able to alter what the zoning document is. So should the future zoning committee take a look and say, okay, this is a very good point you bring up, and this should actually be something that we change across the board. It is actually an easier process to do that once zoning has been established, to instead of a variance to permanently change what's on the book. So that also helps once zoning is already in place.
I would say you could if I was on the board, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's a good question to ask.
I had a question just to clarify. So I'm looking at the map, and John's talking about the agricultural district, and as you guys stated, that all the farm is sprinkled with yellow houses. So are the rules that he's describing houses that are yellow but are surrounded in white?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. So the only ones that kind of wouldn't be considered would be like Hillcrest, because they're subdivision,
Okay.
right? Everything else that's yellow that looks like it's in the middle of a farm field, agricultural.
Okay, thank you.
So like 90% of the people that own homes in Allen Township are going to be agricultural. So this applies for that.
Which is going to be one of the least restrictive zone types that there are. And actually, that stems from the Ohio Revised Code, purposefully limiting what can exactly be done to things that are labeled agricultural. So there's kind of that piece into it, too. But,
So,
okay. Yep.
sure.
I did pick up on the height of the building, the heights of the buildings, 30 feet. Now, is agriculture, would that also include like grain legs or grain operations where you have things such as silos?
I don't know. That's a great
Okay.
point.
That's pretty important to somebody that farms.
Absolutely, that is, and that'll
Yeah.
be something that maybe we'll bring up, I think, during
can bring
an
that up.
upcoming zoning meeting, because that is a good point, and that's something that, if it's not addressed, it definitely should be. But we'll have to bring that up with them and make sure that is covered, and I think that's something that probably Cindy would.
Actually, I do have a question for you. Do you know how tall a grain silo is? Like, I have no idea. Do you know any?
Sky's the limit. I mean, it depends on
Okay.
your
Yeah.
operation.
Like Kalmbach Feeds
Some of
is
the-
like in the
Some of the people are
clouds.
very successful and need a lot of capacity.
Sure.
There are some that do not, but you can't lump them all into
Sure.
a she shed.
Okay.
Right.
One more thing. It's
Sure.
kind of self-serving. If an individual has a home, which is represented in yellow, but has been an established business for a number of years, is it going to be grandfathered in, or does that have to be declared, or how do you handle that?
From what I understand, it's grandfathered in. So what I think whoever is hired as the zoning inspector, I think that they have like a year or something to go around and kind of document, like, this is already in place, so that it's grandfathered in. Like, that's it. And that's my total, just like off the hip type of evaluation of it. But so everything that is withstanding now and is already in place is already grandfathered in. So you've been established there for years and years and years. That's what it will remain in this process. So it's not coming in and guns blazing and that's no longer able to be there anymore. So
That's what I wanted to know, is just whether or not there's going to be an opportunity to make a declaration, or if it's just taken for granted, or
no,
what that is, what the proper
that
protocol
zoning-
would be.
From what I read at one point in time, that zoning inspector has a very hefty job the very first couple of years of their job. So to document and make sure that things are all in place going forward. So it will be put on a book somewhere or documented in some way, shape, or form, because going forward, the inspections and the permit pulling and that kind of stuff will have to know what was there prior. But that zoning inspector, I'm not signing up for that job. But bless the guy, girl, whoever does it, because that's going to be a hefty job. So
Okay, well, thank you for your time.
you're welcome.
Yep. Did you have something, Mike?
Just want to comment on what you were saying about agricultural buildings.
Yeah.
We do have a grain set up on our farm, and we do have plans, I don't know whether it will ever be done, but to erect a grain leg. And that leg, from the plans that we had drawn in the bins that we would add to what we already have, it would have to be 115 foot in the air.
Okay.
So it would be higher than 30 feet.
Absolutely.
But
Okay.
it's an agricultural use, so.
Right.
Sure.
And like I said earlier, I had reviewed the Ohio Revised Code on this a few months ago, and I do remember a lot of agriculture was inherently protected. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's something that doesn't need to be in the zoning documents because it's already protected. But we'll bring it up at the next meeting just to make sure that that is something that's covered, because I think, silos on farms is very reasonable. So,
And it's called a grain leg, like a leg?
It's a conveyor belt with buckets on it.
Okay.
And it carries the grain up to the top, and then there's pipes that go off of the top of the different grain bins.
Okay. I'm a nurse. I can restart your heart, but I don't know about a grain leg. But
I'm
that's
an
why we're all
IT guy.
here.
I can restart your computer, but
But that's why we're all here. We're able to put our heads together. Like, what do we need to consider? That's the whole purpose of a town hall. So, yeah, I appreciate the questions. Anyone else? Did you?
I just wanted to chime in on the heights of the silo or the
Leg.
grain legs.
Grain leg.
They did go over that. I've been to almost
Okay.
all of the zoning meetings. They did go over that. Can't repeat exactly what they said, but they did go over it. That is something you can go to the next meeting and probably bring up to get clarification, but they did bring that up.
Okay.
About agricultural buildings being above, whatever they set a height for. So
Okay.
I know they did. I remember that coming up. And
Okay.
I also know they did cover some fencing as well. So there is a little bit of, stuff that has been updated. You're just gonna have to probably go and ask questions, or we can write them down and ask them for you. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to chime in on that.
Okay. And in agricultural, you can put up a fence if you wanted to, but we're not gonna. There's nothing in an A1 district about a fence. Like, everybody's worried about their fences and their outbuildings, and that addressed a lot of that. So, but yeah, hopefully.
And I was just thinking, before we go into the next video, any questions that maybe we don't have exact answers to, we can write down. And if you are not already on our Facebook page, the Allen Township Neighbors, as those questions get a more defined answer through zoning meetings and whatnot, we can post those answers so that, those of us who can't make all the meetings, we can at least get that information out to you.
So, okay.
all right. Any other questions? All right, we'll go ahead and start the next video then.
Hi, my name is John Timmerman, and I'm one of the zoning board members. And this is another video to help break down the proposed zoning resolution. Please make sure you go back and watch the first video to have a better understanding of what zoning is and is not. Again, this is not a finalized resolution at this time. We are still having our meetings Monday and Thursday at 5 p.m. at the Allen Township Building, and they're open to the public where you can come and voice any concerns or ask questions and whatnot. Again, this video is not intended to cover every detail of the resolution, but rather hit the points that affect the highest percentage of people. For this video, we're going to cover R1 residential districts, which is Basically your subdivision type district. The permitted uses are family residential use, and like you'll see in all the districts, farming is included in all the districts. But it basically has the same rules as if it was the A1 agricultural district. For the single family residential, the area and bulk requirements, the amount of land, the minimum size lot would be 15,000 square feet, which is about a third of an acre, and and you're required to have 100 feet of road frontage. The maximum height of a house is 30 feet, and your front yard setback is 35 feet. Side yard setbacks are 12 feet. Rear setbacks are 35 feet. The minimum floor area is 1,200 square foot, and the maximum lot coverage is 25%. For general provisions, people want a little storage shed or a little outbuilding. You're allowed to cover up to 25% of your rear yard and not more than the house main floor area. As far as the height of that building, there is a limit of 14 feet. And the other area that a lot of people want to know about are fences. For your rear and side yards, the fences are allowed to be up to 8 feet tall. And for the front yard, a 4-foot height is the limit. And the setback from the lot lines are set at half of the height or 2 feet, whichever one is greater. The other restriction that should go without being need to be said is no barbed wire or electric fences. Most of that is fairly standard for most townships. We did go a little bit looser on the height of the fence. A lot of townships it's 6 foot, and we went up to 8 foot. And most townships don't allow fences in the front yard. So again, our strategy is always to try to be a little bit less restrictive of the residential and more restrictive of the commercial property. So I don't think really much will change for most property owners. I think this is pretty standard of how they've been using their lots and their land. So I think it'll be a smooth transition.
All right.
So for those subdivisions wanting to zip zap those squirrels with the electric fence. Nope.
So we can go ahead and open up to questions here. I know the R1 residential will, based off the map that we have, it'll refer to fewer people, as most of the residential occurs in agriculture or agricultural zones here in the township. But does anyone have any questions over the R1 residential? Okay.
There might not be a.
Yeah.
What is it?
I said that mini house will have to be 1,200 square feet.
Just add a bonus room.
All right.
No, those mini houses are a thing. Like, there's some really cool ones out there. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep.
Pause.
Oh, sorry.
The R1 residential is not on this map, because it has yellow as residential.
Yes, so
So-
it does. This is kind of like the map that it kind of looks like right now. Since we're not zoned, it's not placed area as R1 or agricultural yet. Like this is just kind of laying out like
Okay.
what is currently there, so that
Okay.
that way,
Gotcha.
when we're looking at it, we're like, okay, well, where can we kind of plan growth, I guess,
Okay.
is like the best, so.
Right.
So,
And we'll have more official maps on, what is zoned as to what, in some of the future meetings. Do you
They don't-
remember which meeting had said where they plan on determining that?
I know the next like 3 meetings are gonna be like killer. They're gonna like have a lot of information, and it might be developed the map like sequentially, like, okay, let's look at agricultural today, or let's look at R1 today. So it might take a couple of times, a couple of meetings to look at the map and decide, okay, where do we want growth to happen and in what direction? So, but yeah, so right now it's everywhere. Like, it's fair game, Wild West, which is awesome because we've all loved not being zoned forever. But it doesn't create organized growth of the township, so, but.
All right. Are there any other questions over R1 residential? All right, we'll go over to the RM1 for the multifamily kind of apartments and condos and townhouses.
Hi, my name is John Timmerman, and I'm one of the zoning board members, and this is another video to help break down the proposed zoning resolution. Please make sure to watch the first video to better understand what zoning is and it is not. As with all the other videos, this is not a finalized zoning resolution at this point. We are still holding meetings where we're working on the book. We hold our meetings on Mondays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. at the Allen Township Building. These are open to the public, and it's a great opportunity for people to show up and voice their concerns, ask questions, whatnot. As in the other videos, this is not intended to cover all the details, but rather just hit the high points that cover the highest percentage of people. For this video, we're covering the RM1 multifamily residential district. This is going to be apartments, condos, townhouses, things along those lines. Permitted uses would be the multifamily housing dwellings, single-family dwellings, farms, and farm operations. So the farming, again, is allowed in every district. So the area in bulk, this will probably be more for the developers. The residents, this doesn't really affect them, but for the developers, the area in bulk, the maximum height is 30 feet. All the setbacks, the front, side, and rear setbacks are all 30 feet as well. And the maximum lot coverage is 25%. For the general provisions of a storage building, again, it's the same as residential. It's 25% of the rear yard and a maximum height of 14 feet. And for fences, it's going to be the same as residential as well. 8 foot high for the rear and side yards, 4 feet high for the front yards. The setbacks from the property lines would be half the height of the fence or 2 feet, whichever is greater. And again, no barbed wire or electric fences. I would assume that RM1 will be condos and whatnot where they have HOAs, and I would assume their HOAs are probably more restrictive than this, but for the developer, if they just wanted to stick with what the zoning allows, that would be an easy way to create their ground rules. So yeah, again, the goal of this is to try to be light on residential and a little tighter on the commercial properties.
All right. So are there any questions over the apartments, windows, or apartments, condos, and townhouses? Yes.
Are there actually any in Allen Township now?
There are a few.
Right. I
Very
think
few.
I think they're all on the southeast side, if I do believe.
In the Hillcrest area, you know, where the hospital bought a lot of property that got annexed over. There are a whole bunch of apartments right in that area. So there,
This is clear over, on the map, it's east of the city of Findlay,
yes.
or west of the city.
Yeah, on the west-hand side. So just like
yeah,
where it says
southwest
City
side,
of
sorry.
Findlay and like White Forest, Chagrin, Silver Creek, in there's a lot of condos. And I don't even know like how many there are. I would say at least 50. I would say. I don't know. I do know that there is a house on 215 that is like a double, it's a house, but the garage is on either side. So that would be considered a townhome, but it would be an A1. Like it wouldn't be clumped into a condo area. So, But yeah, very few, but they do address it because there are some, so.
Right. And then, I mean, with that too, a lot of, as John had said, a lot of the restrictions that, for the residents that live there, those restrictions aren't going to be really coming from the zoning property. They're going to be coming from whatever apartment agreements or condo agreements or HOAs that they're a part of. That's where the real restrictions will be in those, so. I don't foresee, outside of maybe for the owners, that there's too many restrictions to follow. Yep. But anything else? And I think with that too, that's the last video. So we can also open the floor to just any other general questions that or concerns you all might have towards zoning.
One of the big concerns nobody's talking about is, sorry, thank you. One of the concerns that nobody's talking about here is the turbines and where they can be, what restrictions would be on them. Any hints of where that's headed?
So
Yeah.
tomorrow's meeting will be covering more about turbines, solar, along with some of the other things that were mentioned. So that will be where they can set any sort of restrictions that they're going to. I do know too, at the end of all of these meetings, as well as sometimes in the middle of them, they've opened up for public comment. And I know there's been cases where they've just asked the public in the room, hey, what do you guys think on this, on these issues? So there are definitely good time, or tomorrow will be a very good time where I know I'll be there to comment on some of the issues. And that would be, though, an appropriate time for that. But after tomorrow, we'll have a better idea of exactly what those restrictions will be.
I think you're right, though. It's like the elephant in the room that has opened the can of worms to the development. Because if it's not a wind turbine, it's going to be a big solar farm. It's going to be a battery storage thing.
For reference, just to because yes, she's right. You know, the turbines are an important aspect, and same with the solar that's been announced and whatnot. But that's not the only things that have been rumored to be coming this way. I've seen mentioned in articles hydrogen production facilities, anode and cathode manufacturing, the electric fleet charging for semi-trucks, where there'll be hubs that can charge 90 trucks at a time. You know, and you got to start to think about, well, what's that going to start to do to your tax money, right? For the extra road repairs or all the extra costs associated with developing at a very fast scale like that. And then there's the whole Black Swamp Combinator, where that's going to be a 500-acre project that they want to put in for industrializing a large section of Allen Township. So these are all just very concerning things that we want to watch out for as we go forward with the zoning process.
And that combinator, for all of somebody's interest in transparency, which has been published, you know, that combinator just sounds like a nice, futuristic, cutting-edge development area, but it needs 500 acres to do that. And of course, there's a State of Ohio grant that they're looking for with that, too.
Right. And another thing that we're concerned about too, with a lot of these businesses that are coming in on the south side, are going to end up a lot like these Sheetz locations, where Sheetz just bought out that section of land. Well, then they got annexed into Findlay, so the Allen Township just lost that taxable income, right? And we don't want to see all of Allen Township start to get eaten up into what goes into Findlay. And though zoning cannot directly say, hey, Findlay can't annex us anymore, we can control the growth that happens around that area and prevent from a faster or an accelerated swallow from Findlay. So I know that's another piece into it too.
I think we all moved out and to Allen Township to be out in the country. You know, like we kind of all had this like, oh, amazing! I can hear the frogs in the pond next door,
Sorry.
or you know, just saying. We all moved out into the country to have country living and not to have industry in our backyard. And if we remain unzoned, the way that industry is encroaching onto Allen Township is very scary, and how the takeover that it would look like. And I don't want to see that happen. I don't want my little girl to grow up with a forklift going on next door. So, but yeah, I think that we need to start to plan out how do we want to develop and have a voice in how that develops now before it is too late. So, yeah.
And that's the important thing here, right? Is that it's not that we don't want any more development. We're not saying that, you know, we don't want to see Allen Township, you know, ever develop again. That's not the point of this. The point is to have a slower or a controlled growth in a voice in how we grow. And so that's really the kind of key to that.
I don't know how many of you listened to the video between Mr. Kent and Jim Parks from Heavy Duty Trucking. And several times Parks asked, well, why Findlay, Ohio? And part of what he said was, why not California? So, about a zillion reasons why not California. But one of the comments from Mr. Kent along the way is, well, we have this property that's adjacent to the Whirlpool, et cetera, and it's in a township that's not zoned.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of that sentence would be, so we can do whatever we want to.
And this is actually a big problem across all of Ohio, actually, because when Senate Bill 52 was introduced, it didn't cover unzoned townships for these smaller scale wind and solar projects. And I say smaller scale because it's supposed to be anything under 15 megawatts for economically significant wind farms. However, what is up currently is over that. And the reason that is because they are sectioned off into microgrids. So they've sectioned off 2 to 3 of these turbines at a time to create these microgrids that are less than 15, even though as an aggregate, they are all definitely more. And so we want to try to we want to try to close that gap by zoning. And we've looked into it because, you know, one of the things I know when we first moved here, we were excited that it was unzoned too, until we understood exactly what that all meant, what that all entailed. And as we watched some of these developing projects. And so that's where we came in and we're like, oh, well, this is something important and something we need. And we tried researching every possibility outside of zoning, but this really is the only route that we can take, which is, well, why we're here today.
And I will say that the information that you have does not go unnoticed. I've looked into a lot of it. There is, I've been every Tuesday and every Thursday, I go to the county commissioner meetings to ask, hey, can I have a voice? Because this is a state level problem, the loophole that has been found to be able to allow these big elephant in the rooms to come through. It needs to have change at the state level, and Senate Bill 52 has a little bit of a loophole, and they found it, and they're taking full advantage of it, and we are going to be the ones that fall prey to it if we don't start to stand up. We may have to eat these 3 that are coming through. I have no idea, but I don't want to eat the next 80 that may be coming through on 500 acres. So,
and it has been very clear in interviews that it does not stop at these 3. In various interviews with the Courier, there are plans to not only here, but as directly in Kent's words, across the entire heartland. So that's something to be very weary of in terms of what those expansion plans are going to look like. Because the last thing I think any of us want to see is to be like it is over in Van Wert, where I actually grew up, and there's right now over 300 turbines there in that area. So that's, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a great question, because I actually took a look the other day, and there was a lot of them that are out of service, a surprising number. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but
I will say that as well, the 10 that are up now, if they were considered an aggregate sum and not broken off into individuals, the setback requirements for each of those turbines would be far larger than what they currently are, and the density of them will be far less, or far more. So that, like, it would be like a mile before they could have another one up, and it would be at least 1,300 feet off of someone's property line. So, but it's not. It's not that, because it's not seen as a economically significant wind farm based on the definition.
And there are ones right now that are built that are just 450 feet away from people's property. And those are the 400-foot turbines. With these new 600-foot, you're looking at closer to 500 feet off of somebody's property for where they're planned to be at. So that's, these things are going to be taller than they are far away from, residential lots. And that's a very serious problem that has a lot of people concerned.
I will say, too, that the county commissioners have been going every opportunity I get for the last month and a half, asking for a letter and a conversation with Ohio representatives. And I am finally going to get my letter. They are going to write it, finally. And I'm going to ask for calls, and I want an actual meeting with Ohio representatives, because we can help protect ourselves through zoning. It's going to take a lot longer at the state level, but we're not going to be the only people that are going to be dealing with this in unzoned townships. As you can see, there's still unzoned townships in Hancock County. Big Lick is next. Like, think about the ones that are not zoned right now. They're next, and they need to start to think about that. We as Allen Township, we should have thought about this a long time ago, I wish, but we've loved our ability to be unzoned, but right now it is making us a sitting duck. So.
And we actually do see this across the state, where I keep seeing story after story of townships that are getting zoned in response to this actually specific loophole from all sorts of power companies or green energy companies. So that's something that that is a concern for not just us, but a lot of different townships. So
anyhow, I won't keep the rest of you. Go ahead.
Sorry, you said something about Ohio representatives.
Yeah.
You're talking about Ohio representatives to the
Yes.
Ohio legislature?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking
Yes.
about?
So I had
And we have a new one on the way.
well, hopefully
Yep.
he's got to pass the November ballot.
Right. But we
against it.
actually
yeah.
have met with him
For
too.
sure, there's a new one on the way. It's a question
Yes.
of who it is.
Oh, listen, Cross is a sitting duck right now, so there's not really much that he's going to probably promote in this. Senator McCauley is one as well. They said that they were going to send the letter to Cross and McCauley, and I said that's not good enough. I want it sent to every Ohio representative that is currently active right now, because it's not our problem only. It is everyone's problem, and everyone needs to know about it, every representative in Ohio. So I'm going for the jugular. Like, I'm trying.
Good
So,
for you.
Yeah.
And we've talked with Ty Matthews too. He came out, and we had the opportunity to talk with him on the issue as well. And I know it was something that, at least from our opinion, he seemed to have a concern for going forward. But the real problem here is that anything at the state level is going to be a slow process. And so that's why we need zoning, because we might be looking at years on the state level. And that's just time that we don't really have. So.
Anyhow.
Right.
I know. I'm like, you should work off a budget. If you're going to run for something, that you get a budget and you can't go over it. That would be a great test to how well they're going to spend our money, right?
Yeah.
I'll run for mayor. No, I'm teasing.
I just want to say thank you guys for putting on like a ton of time, effort, money into some of this stuff. I'm not a current township resident, and I want to be. I have property, I want to build, but I'm not going to build unless we get it done. I don't care if I have to pull permits. I don't want to see a bunch of wind turbines and industrial in my front yard. So, I mean, I really do hope this passes and everything, because I would love to.
Pull a permit.
Yeah, I don't care, I don't.
Yeah.
I just don't want to stare at it, I stare at it
Sure.
at work. I don't want to stare at it at home.
And to give people a quick idea too, if you're unfamiliar at all with permits, I know I definitely was. They're not something that has to, like, even if you do need one, they're not something that has to be ungodly expensive. I know that they have to talk about the prices of them still, and I know that they want to try to keep them cheap. But just to give an example, my parents recently, for where they live, they had to get a permit for some concrete that they needed to pour, and it cost them, I want to say it was $5 to get the permit to do it. So it's just a very bare minimal fee just to get past the hurdle of the implemented system that is there. So it doesn't have to be anything crazy.
Anyhow, any last questions? We'll open up the floor. One last thing. If anyone has anything they want to say, but we want to respect your time. And yes, please come to the next township meeting. There will be one in 2 weeks because you'll have more information. We'll do some more videos. I'm going to have them do Cliff Notes again because that's what I think people need because that zoning book is lengthy and that's a hard read. It's not a good novel. So, but yes, we'll do more videos. We'll break it down for you. But in the meantime, spread the word. I think that this last township hall will probably be the last one. We have 2 more scheduled, but they're working really hard towards getting the zoning book done. And they will likely be done before we need to have another fourth town hall in that process. So just know that come to the next one, spread the word, go to those meetings, and we'll give you as much information and Cliff Notes as possible for the vote. So anyhow.
Yep. And then as the last slide kind of says here, this is completely grassroots what we got going on. We pass out flyers. We're doing media like this. Any donations are appreciated for it through our website. Just spreading accurate information. I can't read the left. Any future video requests too for anything that we can help to explain moving forward. So.
And just so you know, like donation portions of it, we went door to door passing out flyers. Like it's taken a long time. And I'm telling you what, lots of time in the car and talking with people on the grassroots level. So if you're interested in doing that, taking a road and saying, okay, I'm going to be in charge of these 10 people, like making sure they know what's going on, that would be super helpful. Also, if we get enough donations, we could do a mailer. Do you know how much those things cost? They're a lot of money. Mm-hmm. It's like $1,000 to mail out. So every time you get a little mailer from someone, just like know that someone's paying for that. So if you
one of which is
yes.
One Energy, spreading very opposite messages of misinformation with some of this stuff. So.
But we're spending time in a car in the grassroots portion of it. So if you guys have the heart to do something like that and help the endeavor, that would be awesome. If you don't want to go door to door, like there's PayPal and Venmo. So, but anyhow, just like know that there's a lot of people trying to help our community. So, yeah.
Yes.
I think that was premature. My wife and I are one of those couples that took a road. And for the most part, probably 90%, people were very appreciative of the educational moment that we were offering about Allen Township neighbors, the opportunity for zoning, and it gave us a wonderful opportunity to share what zoning is, what zoning's not, and it is amazing of the misunderstanding over the last 20 or 30 years, what people think they know about zoning versus what we're trying to do. It's not that we're trying to restrict growth. It's we're trying to guide growth from an educational point of view. And when that's presented, 90% of the people that we visited, the last thing out of their mouths were, I'm for zoning. Don't lose the opportunity to share your heart with these people.
Thank you.